What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. We are live here on our Facebook page, fb.me/FCFS pod. If you're listening to the audio version, check out the iHeartRadio app, check out the Spotify app, or check us out anywhere you listen to your podcast. My name is Jeremy. That is Drew. We are on board, starting Drew right off today. So let's welcome Drew into the show. What is up, brother? How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Good evening, my friend. How are you?
Can't complain. You watching some baseball over there?
Well, I was until it started pouring rain, but, at least it's the sport. It's back. No fans is really weird in baseball. And I heard that, like the Tigers, I don't know about the Indians, but they're going to sell, cut out faces of people. But I'll tell you what, it's got to be better than just seeing nobody behind the plate. It's weird.
For sure. It's going to be definitely weird to have that. And I don't know about you, but I'm just happy to have some sports back finally.
Yep.
And let's just get into it here. Let's get into the show. Let's go around the NFL. I don't know what's going here with my screen. I'm going to let you take control. We're going to start around the NFL. The Redskins, man. What do you think about this namelessness they have right now?
Oh, you mean Washington?
Yes, Washington. I apologize. The Washington team.
Jesus, the guy's first day of the new name, and he's already jacking it up with the Reds. I mean, to me, it's somewhat laughable. Like that's what they came out with. Like that they were like, all right, we're just going to be the football club for now. Like, I mean, we've talked about this many times. They've clearly kind of, they would have never changed this unless they've had to. This has been the storm on top of the organization where they've been forced to do this. The fact that they came out with this is no surprise. It's funny. It's a disaster in the nation's capital, and we'll see moving forward. But yeah, I mean, what do you got to say about the name? It's a good name. What the hell? I mean, what do you? Come on.
I mean, when it first came out, I was not a fan of it, and I mean, you sent it to me earlier today, and I'm like, what the hell are they thinking? Like all this time, you have these big board meetings, you're getting all this information together, and you're like, you know what? How about Washington football team established 1932? And you're like, that's it? That's what you come up with in all this time? But then I stopped and I thought about it. And yeah, I get it that for once, Daniel Snyder's not jumping to something and he's actually trying to let things play out and see what's best for the franchise in the future here, rather than just, hey, let's go with Red Wolves or Redskin Potatoes or whatever the names have been back and forth. So, I mean, I'm cool with it for now. Whatever, it works for now. But use this time, come up with something good. I mean,
I agree. I agree with you 100%.
So we will talk more about the Redskins in a little bit, because tonight we're going to bring on our guest, author and former NFL scout Daniel Kelly. And he shall be on shortly. I got to send him another link. Apparently, the link I sent him, he's not using straight from Twitter, so I got to send it to his email. So I'm going to let Drew take over here for a second. And
yeah, let me roll, man.
COVID-19 policy in the NFL. They're going to basically do 3 tiers of testing. Basically, you get 4 tests, and then by the fifth time they test you, they're going to test every single day. You think this is going to work? You think it's an NBA style of testing? You think it's actually going to work? And the fact that they've gone from, on their webpage, it said 95 total tests positive. Now they're down to 59. So is this going to work out? Is this going to be something that's going to keep football on the field? What do you think?
Well, the fact that I've heard that the NFL is going to spend upwards of $27 million on testing alone, clearly they're putting in the effort. Again, the difference is between this and the NBA is the NBA is in a bubble right now. The NFL is going to be – they're going to be traveling. There's going to be way more exposure. I mean, yeah, in theory, the testing is great. We just don't know where we stand right now. The fact the NBA has a bubble, they actually have an opportunity here. I'm not saying the NFL season is not going to happen by any means. I just think that while the policy in place is fantastic and they're going to try to take as many measures as they can, we also understand the NFL in fielding a football team compared to the amount of people it takes to play an NBA game and things like that. It's just way greater. The risk is greater. Yes, this testing seems great. It sounds great. Hello, hey, thanks NFL. Didn't know you were still around. Thought you fell asleep drunk at the wheel. Glad to hear from you. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be it's tough because it's moving pieces when it comes to the NFL.
Yeah. It seems that they're getting this right. It's day 1, they do a COVID test. Day 2, no COVID. Day 3, no COVID. Day 4, they do a test. And then day 5, full-on testing, daily testing begins, and players may enter the club facility. Like, they're doing this kind of last minute, but I mean, looking at what baseball's done, where you have opening day today, and the Blue Jays are homeless, and Clayton Kershaw's suddenly out. I mean,
they just expanded to 16 playoff teams.
Yeah, and then they do that
on tonight. So
I mean, at least the NFL is trying, ahead of time to get this right, and doing this. Yeah, it should work. Let's make sure these guys are staying safe. They're staying out of spots where they could end up getting COVID, because if this happens in the NFL, if one player gets it and they're asymptomatic going into a game and you don't know they have it, if you're a defender and you're tackling guys, you're tackling, let's say you get 8 tackles. Let's say you're playing on the offensive or you're playing on the defensive line and you get 8 tackles. You're possibly in contact with up to 20 players during that game. So the NFL needs to make sure that this testing is correct and they've got everything 100% on before football starts, because we don't want football to start and then all of a sudden shut it down. I don't know about you, but I'm worried about my fantasy leagues this year. I haven't even started to think about a draft because I don't know what we're going to have this year.
Listen, I mean, the NFL is going to go on business as usual. People are going to test positive, and they're going to go about it in a way. And yes, in theory, this sounds fantastic, but we know things change. When Patrick Mahomes tests positive for COVID, what do? Yeah. Okay. Now the NFL has their chosen one that's not going to, so where do we go from here? But you've seen leagues, the PGA Tour's done it. The PGA Tour's even has testing to where if you're asymptomatic and you test positive 3 times in a row, they had 3 golfers playing in the same group that have tested positive for COVID out there playing together. Mm-hmm. There's ways around it. It's tough when you're talking about the amount of people that we have in the NFL and the amount of people that it takes to field a team. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between these other sports. There's a lot more people that are involved when it comes to the NFL and football in general.
100%. And the thing is, let's say Patrick Mahomes comes down and he gets tested positive, and it's in the heart of the season. Do you think there's going to be an asterisk on this season with the amount of players that could miss time with COVID?
Do you think that an organization would try to hide a positive test in order to allow a player of Patrick Mahomes' caliber to play?
I wouldn't put it past him.
In, let's say, a late season game and or early playoff game. I mean, you're in the AFC Championship game and you don't think Patrick Mahomes putting the helmet out, coming out and playing if he doesn't have symptoms?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine them being like, you know what? Well, maybe it's a false positive. Maybe it's not a real one. Yeah, I could absolutely see a team possibly doing that. And, I mean, let's hope they don't for the sake of everyone's health. But, yeah, I could absolutely see that. I mean, these teams, we know that one thing they care about, making money and winning. I guess that's 2 things, but that's what they care about. So if you're in the title game or if you need to win to get into the playoffs, are you going to be the Buccaneers and be like, hey, Tom Brady, oh, that sucks. He's got COVID. Are you going to play your backup? No, you're probably going to try to sneak him onto the field. I mean, that's just the way the NFL works. But the good thing is that this offseason or this preseason doesn't exist. We talked about it last week where you thought that there's possibility that we wouldn't have a preseason. And sure enough, NFL goes to the NFLPA this week and says, hey, you know what? We're not going to do a preseason. So that can kind of be good where you're not having guys come in contact with each other too early. I think this is going to cause injuries, man. What do you think?
Yes, that very much so. Injuries and opportunities. Mm-hmm. You think of guys and the opportunities they get throughout the preseason to prove themselves and make rosters. And you're also going to see, based off of this, you're going to see veteran guys getting the lead role over rookies. Like look at my team, for example. You have Jeff Okudah. Jeff Okudah's not going to be starting out at CB1 It's not going to happen. They're going to put veterans in place, and it's going to be very different. So, yeah, injuries, soft tissue injuries. Hugh Jackson would be like, oh, my God, we hate soft tissue injuries. We need to prevent these. But listen, it's going to be tough. There's going to be people that go down. Although the preseason is kind of terrible football, it does serve a purpose to an extent. However, the NFL is willing to give this for the greater good as far as is they're concerned.
It's definitely a worry for rookies because you're going to have guys like, for my team, Jedrick Wills is a guy learning a new position, moving from right side to left side on the tackle spot. And he's not going to get game reps until day one of the season. And that is going to be difficult. These game reps, not only do you usually get game reps, but you usually get, where they practice against another squad, where they can set up anything they want to make sure that everything works out for them and that they're ready to go day one so that they don't have to worry about injuries. So they know that the guys are ready to step in the field and not get injured because they don't know their footsteps. They don't know where they're going to go.
Game readiness, like you can't simulate game ready. You know what I mean? It's like you can't be game ready by just working out. And we're going to see some gassed ass defenses come the fourth quarter early on in this season.
For sure. And for guys like Joe Burrow, you're not going to get the game reps you don't get that many to begin with, but you're a rookie starter. You're supposed to come in and start right away. You want to come in as the day one starter, but you usually get that time in the preseason to really learn how to do things.
I think for Joe Burrow, though, for that instance, I think that young man's going to be thrown into the fire regardless.
Oh, yeah, he's getting thrown in anyway. But for some of these players coming off injury, you want to know how you're going to feel when you go back on the field, like a Bradley Chubb in Denver, who we'll talk about later, coming back from an injury where you've been out all year. How's that leg going to feel when you're actually going 100%? In preseason, you can work up. You can go 30%, maybe move it up to 50%. Then by the third game, 80%. And then you really work your way up to the 100% by game time for the opening day. But they're not getting that. So it's definitely going to be a strange thing to see. We might see a lot of injuries, but
not for my team.
Not one player. I'd like to see the NFL carry 90 players throughout the entire season because that bottom of the roster is definitely going to need work. You're going to need to figure out where guys fit each time, and it's going to give a chance for some of these kids who didn't get to play in the preseason to prove themselves on a daily basis on the roster and extend. You have to give these kids a chance. It's not fair to the undrafted rookies. It's not going to work out for them at all. It's going to suck.
And we've talked about the fact that there are going to be players that test positive for the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And you're going to need guys that are not on the roster. And right now, it's like, are they going to hang out in an RV in the parking lot waiting for their number to be called? Like, what's the plan for that? Because you're right. Certainly rosters are going to need to be increased as far as roster size goes. When these situations arise, and they're going to arise, and we know they are, and this is kind of the new normal as of right now, and we just have to learn to adapt to it. And people testing positive is not going to shut the league down. It's not. But if it becomes a pandemic in the league, there's no choice. So we'll see what happens. The NFL, again, I like the idea, the no preseason. The NFL kind of panicked at the last second. They said, here's our policy, no preseason. Please, let's move forward.
And is one of those guys sitting in the RV in the parking lot hoping that his name gets called going to be former Falcons running back, a Pro Bowler, a guy who a lot of people thought was going to be pretty good for a few years, Devontae Freeman, who's unsigned. He wants back in. Is anyone going to sign him? Is he going to be hanging out in someone's parking lot waiting to come onto the field? You think this guy gets a deal?
I do, because I think he's a proven back. Now the number as far as the cap goes is the real question.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Washington would do that. Matt says, yeah, you know what I mean. So, but no, it's Devontae Freeman definitely will find a home because you and I know that he's a back that can be productive. However, injury concerns certainly are a question, but I definitely expect Devontae Freeman to end up on a roster, if not before the season quickly after. He will be on a roster. And I think he understands at the running back position, he's going to have to take a kind of a little cheaper salary.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a guy who's going to have to sign to a minimum deal with possible incentives. But I think he's got a shot to be on a roster. The way the rosters are this year, we've talked about it before, a lot of veterans are going to get chances before rookies because you know what they can do. So I'm absolutely with you on that. I think he definitely does get put on a roster at some point. Now, before we move on to our guest here in a few minutes, about 9:20, he's scheduled to join us. Every week since we've been doing our AFC preview, we've broken down the top quarterbacks, top running backs, top wide receivers. And now this week, in our 4th week of the AFC preview, we're going to break down our top 5 AFC defenders, in our opinion, by the end of 2020. And Mr. Drew, you are going to start out with your list first. Who you got at number 5, bro?
Jamal Adams.
Nice.
Jamal Adams.
As long as he's still in the AFC by the end of the year.
That's yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. At number 4, I have Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett coming into a fresh season, kind of, I think, not a proven season for him, but coming off all the controversy. I think 10 sacks in 10 games last year before the helmet smacking shit. So I expect him to have a good year. Then I would put TJ Watt at number 3. I think the kid's really good. I think he's going to continue to get better. At number 2, I will put Joey Bosa, which you probably think is pretty high for Joey Bosa. At number 1, I will put Stephon Gilmore, who is the best corner in the league at this point, and I think that will continue.
So our lists are very similar. 4 out of the same 5 players. The only difference is I did not have Joey Bosa on my list. That's because I really think that defense, he's really good. I think Melvin Ingram is just about as good as Joey Bosa. I think that defense is really good, though. They're a fun team.
That's a trash opinion. That is a trash opinion.
At least once a show.
Crap. Yeah, that's
at number
terrible.
5, I also have Jamal Adams with hopes that he's still in the AFC by the end of the year. At number 4, I have Steelers linebacker TJ Watt. At number 3, I have Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones. At number 2, Myles Garrett, Cleveland Brown defensive end.
Because I think he wasn't going to be 1.
I think Myles is going to have basically a year where he's like, you know what, screw what everybody thinks. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to destroy quarterbacks. He's got all the talent. He's still putting together. As I said last week when we talked about his contract, he's still an ascending player, in my opinion. Still has to figure some things out. In 10 sacks in 10 games, I think he can shoot for 20 sacks this year. And number 1, the best corner in the league. Dude's been a stud since he went to New England, Stephon Gilmore. So with that, we have finished our AFC player preview, our top 5 at each position, and now our top 5 defenders. And in just a little bit, we should be bringing on our guest here, Daniel Kelly, author of Whatever It Takes, the true story of a fan making it in the NFL, and a former NFL scout. So we should see if he's going to be back on here in a second. And before he comes on, we're going to take a quick break here. So enjoy the video. We'll be right back. If I can get the video to play here. Good old technology. Hey guys, it's Jeremy from the Full Coverage Football Show. Getting ready for tonight's show. And as always, we will have our sponsors scrolling across the bottom. That's right. Not only do you see the jerseys behind me, the line behind Drew, and our beautiful faces, but you also see our sponsors usually scrolling by underneath. Manhattan Deli Menor, Concealed Carry Firearms Training, and Kitty Cove Daycare. So what I did is I made a video for one of our sponsors, and that's Manhattan Deli Menor. Check out some of the food. Check out the video. Enjoy it. Let me know what you think. And remember, check out the Full Coverage Football Show live every Thursday night on Facebook at fb.me/FCFS pod from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Here I am today at the Manhattan Deli of Menor on 8900 Menor Avenue in Menor, Ohio. You can come into this restaurant, get carry-out 440-974-0055, delivery through DoorDash and Uber Eats, or if you want to come into the restaurant, you can sit on this gorgeous patio with your friends and family, or even come in and know that you are safe because the tables are all clean and sanitized. There are plexiglass shields between everything to make sure you're safe. Friendly staff who apparently is dodging and afraid to be on camera. But the food, man, the food. Look at this. This is a chicken Philly sandwich. Chicken, onions, mushrooms, Swiss cheese, mozzarella cheese, golden brown French fries. Want something lighter?
California chicken salad, chicken salad, fruit, toasted pineapple, or the chopped Greek rainbow salad. Look at that delectable masterpiece. Or here's another one, the caprese chicken, marinated tomatoes, but you don't need to wait. Come in for breakfast. Look at this, a deli fresh pastrami omelet. Or if you want to go a little on the naughty side and get some funnel cake for breakfast, deep fried hollow French toast. I mean, who doesn't want that? Look at those home fries. Gorgeous. I mean, the food speaks for itself. Look at those golden brown pancakes. Lunch, dinner, you name it. But not only that, but catering. Look at this gorgeous tray made by Brandon, the deli guy. Absolutely beautiful. And you can have that sent to your home. Burgers, any kind of burger your heart desires. Some of the best burgers you'll find around. Carry out. Look at this. This is carry out, making it just as nice as if you were eating in the restaurant, because they know that you eat with your eyes first. And if you're not going to like the way the food looks, it doesn't matter how it tastes. Look at these salads. This is the Julian. Absolutely gorgeous. Amazing presentation. Delicious, delicious food. And crispy onion rings. Come on, man. You're killing me. Crispy onion rings with burgers. I mean, the food literally speaks for itself. 440-974-0055 for carryout. 8900 Menor Avenue in Menor. And on Fridays, broiled, battered, breaded fish, all you can eat. Come and get it. I don't know about y'all, but after watching that, I know one thing. If I'm watching the full coverage football show tonight, I am getting something from Manhattan Deli Menor. That food looked absolutely delicious. And thank you for sponsoring the full coverage football show that you can find live on Facebook, fb.me/FCFS.
And with that, we are back, and we had our guest for a second, and it looks like he fell off for a second. He said the page was unresponsive, and he's having some weather issues down in Key West here. So he should be back on here in a second, but we will see. So this guest we're going to bring on
in the meeting. Oh no, talk the guest. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's talk. Let's see if we can get him back on here. I will try in a second here, but yeah, Antonio Brown, he's pissed off at Roger Goodell, and he thinks it's been 11 months. He should know what's going on at this point, and he hasn't heard anything. I mean, Antonio just retired. You think Antonio's just going crazy, or is this just Antonio being Antonio?
It's Antonio being Antonio. I mean, he has a case to an extent. I mean, the NFL needs to decide what they want to do with him. Teams are going to sign him, so we'll see what happens. But I think, yes, he retired 2 days ago, and that's what he does. And then the next day he says something to the NFL and whatnot. But needless to say is I think Antonio Brown does end up on a team. Clearly, there was interest there in Seattle for a time being. I think teams want to know what it's going to be. Is he going to be suspended for X amount of games? Where can we expect of him moving forward? But I do expect Antonio Brown to end up on a team. But it's definitely going to be a team that you would think that there's veteran leadership, that he's not going to necessarily come in and kind of break the mold and things like that. But I do expect him to. I can certainly see Seattle, and that would be a fantastic addition for them. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I could see Seattle being a spot, but they are also interested in bringing back a guy we said we weren't going to talk about on the show, and that's Flash Gordon. But we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, Roger Goodell answers Antonio Brown and says, listen, you were suspended for the season, or you're suspended for 8 games. Even if you come back, we will see what happens. So right now, our guest is struggling to get on. And yeah, I would love to be sent as well to Key West, but apparently they're having some bad weather. He says all you can see is a black screen right now. He was there for a second while we were showing our little commercial there. We'll see if he can get back in. I sent him another link. So without further ado, let's continue the show. Let's get into talking the AFC West, see if he comes back. And if he does, cool. If he doesn't, we move on. It looks like he's coming back actually here in a second. Let's see if he can appear. We'll hold on for a second here.
Let's see if he can appear.
We've got Daniel. Daniel, can you hear us? Are you with us? Looks like it's a black screen so far. We will remove him from the stream at this point, see if it works. Guess the weather in Key West is keeping him from the show right now, which things happen. We'll try to add him to the stream. One more time. Daniel, are you able to hear us right now? Well, this is a lot of fun, kids. So we will see if he appears at any point here. So let's start our AFC West look around here. This is the fun of doing a show live, kids. We don't hide from it. We're doing it live. Shit happens, whatever. We'll start with the LA Chargers. 5-11 last year. Their over-under is 7.5. And this team, they lost Phillip Rivers. Phillip's gone. Herbert's in, or maybe Tyrod. Melvin Gordon's gone. Austin Eckler going to start. Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. They've got weapons on offense. They've got weapons on defense with Derwin James. Chris Harris is there. Desmond King. That's a hell of a secondary. Kenneth Murray is going to be there in the linebacker spot now. They've got Joey Bosa and the equally as good, in my opinion, Melvin Ingram, even though to you that's a trash opinion. I mean, they're young. They've got a lot of talent here. What do you think we're going to see from the Los Angeles Chargers, which is still hard for me to say at this point?
A lot of the same. Honestly, I really don't believe the Chargers, their quarterback situation has at least a lot to be answered. Yes, they have Keenan Allen, who's a phenomenal talent. You nailed it. Defensively, they're stacked. They're ready to go. One of the better defensive units you can say in the entire league, in my opinion. You think Austin Eckler is going to take over that role at running back this year? They do have weapons. But again, you draft Justin Herbert. What are we doing? I mean, is it Tyrod Taylor's early in the season? You know Tyrod Taylor better than anybody. I think for this team, in my prediction, I do like the addition of Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma as well, playing the linebacker spot. But for me personally, I don't think this team is necessarily. I think they've improved talent wise, but at the quarterback position, they've lost a staple with the franchise for years. And I predict them to go 5-11 again. That's going to be my prediction. I'll hammer the shit out of that under that you put me at 7.5. I will hammer it and hammer it and hammer it. That's where I'm at with the Chargers. I mean, again, losing Phillip Rivers is big. I mean, he's been their guy for a very long time. Hunter Henry, you don't know if he's going to stay healthy because he never does. He's playing under the tag. And so we'll see what happens.
Does that hurt that Phillip gone? He throws picks, yay or nay. Yeah, it hurts that Phillip's gone. He's a Hall of Famer probably, in my opinion, and you're replacing him with Justin Herbert, who I don't think is any good. I've said it on this show a million times that I don't think he's good. But Tyrod, this is a guy who this season's going to come down to, can Tyrod run this offense where it's just a run-first offense, or is he going to be able to be Trent Dilfer? That's what we're going to see. Can he be Trent Dilfer? If he's going to be Trent Dilfer, hang on. I think we got Daniel here. Let's go to Daniel. Let's see if we can add him. Daniel, what's up, man? Can you hear us? Did we get you frozen? Still looks like we're having issues bringing Daniel in. At least we got his face this time. He's rocking the Jets hat. We'll see if it unfreezes here in a second. We will go back to that. We don't know what's going on. It sucks. But let me see if we can figure something else out for maybe another time with Daniel. We will go from there because this is annoying. We'll continue talking about the Chargers. This season comes down to Tyrod Taylor. Can he be Trent Dilfer for this team? Do you think that's something that can happen for him? Do you think he can be a Trent Dilfer? No, either do I.
No, I don't. Listen, I don't know. The Chargers, again, talent-wise on the roster, I think they're ready to compete at this point. But I also don't think that with the quarterback position with Tyrod Taylor that they're going to win right now. And Justin Herbert's clearly not going to be ready, especially with no preseason and things like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. And do you think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
So do I. So we will remove that comment because we both agree on it. He's definitely a Hall of Famer in my opinion. But as far as this team, I mean, we can maybe – I can see them maybe winning 8 games, but that over-under at 7.5, I don't see it happening right now. And no, I'm going with the under. I'm thinking 7-9, 6-10, 6-10. So I'm with you on that. We're both going to take the under on the Chargers. So moving on, we've got another thing. Hold on. Give me 2 reasons, Chris. Ask why Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. The numbers are Hall of Fame worthy, and he's a Hall of Famer. That's all I got for you. The guy's a winner. He's won constantly with a team that really didn't put much around him at times. He had no offensive line. Yes, he throws a lot of interceptions, but he's a gambler. He's the Brett Favre type. And for me, he's a Hall of Famer. You got 2 reasons why he's a Hall of Famer. I'm going to let you go on that one, and then we can move on to the Vegas Raiders.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, Phillip Rivers is statistically, I mean, just look at statistically a Hall of Famer. Now, you can say that, yes, we're in the era where we're passing the ball more. I mean, the guy has not missed games. The guy, yes, so you can knock him for not winning a Super Bowl. But look at the stats he's put up, the ability he has to not only command the offense, but also has respect from his teammates. I mean, look at the career Antonio Gates had. I mean, he's not necessarily had elite weapons at times as well. I mean, Antonio Gates was kind of all he had for a long time. Yes, he hasn't. I mean, listen, not everybody's going to win the Super Bowl. Only one team does. Only one team does. And quarterback wins is not a real stat. It is a fake stat. And that's it. I mean, a quarterback can't do everything. So,
I mean, if we're looking at wins, he has more wins than Eli Manning. We can look at it that way, but he didn't win the Super Bowl, and I get that. We got Daniel trying to log in one more time. We'll try to go to him in a second. Let's see if this is unfrozen. Daniel, are you able to hear us? And it looks like we're frozen again. But once again, we got your face, so we'll go from there. It looks like it's not working. And yeah, now we're getting into something totally different here. By that same argument, Matt Stafford is a Hall of Famer.
That's not true at all.
I think Matt Stafford, by the end, will have numbers that could be Hall of Fame worthy, but I don't think he's won as many games as Phillip. Phillip's got his team into the playoffs a lot of times. He won playoff games.
How many playoff wins does Matt Stafford have?
As many as Baker Mayfield, if I'm correct.
I mean, listen, I know quarterback wins. I just said quarterback wins is not a stat.
Yeah. I mean, I went with it, so I get the argument there.
What about I mean, listen to this. The consistency Phillip Rivers, that team has consistently made the playoffs in a clip that the Detroit Lions have never made. Okay? Phillip Rivers has single-handedly brought that team to the playoffs many times. Matt Stafford, while statistically great, has played on bad teams. Okay? You get that. There's been bad defenses. However, Phillip Rivers been to the playoffs more consistently, won in the playoffs. There's no argument there. Matt Stafford, however, certainly does have the argument as far as statistics-wise. Let's see him win. He has to win it. You cannot be a Hall of Famer without ever winning a playoff game. That has to be a thing. If it's not, then goddamn it, today is the day that it's a thing. You can't be the damn Hall of Fame with everyone with a playoff game.
Phillip Rivers has been in 8 career playoff games. He's 4-4. It happens. You don't win every playoff game, but going 4-4 with some of those teams he had where they had no offensive line, where he basically had one guy to throw to in Antonio Gates, and you knew where the ball was going. I mean, he had Vincent Jackson for a little bit. He got to play with LT for a little bit. But, yeah, the Chargers are a team that could have done something. They've always had the chance to win long term, but they never did. They never put it together. And I don't think you can blame that all on Philip. I think Philip's numbers, I think his game management, his leadership, and the wins he got in the playoffs and the wins he got in the regular season, I think you can put that all together to say he is a Hall of Famer, which is weird for me to say because I don't think Eli's that much of a Hall of Famer. But we always said that was because he was never the top 5 in his position in any season. I think Philip was easily top 5 at his position in many seasons. And with that, we'll get back into the Las Vegas Raiders. This has been a very odd show the way this is going. Doesn't look like we're going to have Daniel on tonight. I think we're going to have set up another way to interview. Unfortunately, I did not set up for that tonight. So we're just going straight through. Hey, at least the guest showed up this time. So we're making baby steps.
Whoa. What's that comment? Pull up that comment. Pull up that comment.
Yes, he had LT for a while. LaDainian Tomlinson. For a little bit. And yes, one of the best tight ends. Hey, you know what? We were just talking about a round table. Coming up here, we'll add whoever wants to join. So this is an open invitation to anyone listening to this show, whether live or on the audio version later on iHeart or any other of the spots we got, Spotify, Anchor. If you feel like you want to come on the show and argue with us, or you want to agree with us, or you just want to come on and have a round table, we will get some players together. We'll say Hall of Fame worthy or not. We'll do a segment. Sound good to you, Drew?
Yes. Yep.
Sounds good to Drew. Just went with it. He's like, whatever. I'm going
with
it.
No. Yep. All
right. So with that.
Have you guys ever heard of Tom Brady? You ever heard of Tom frickin' Brady? Okay? Philip Rivers would have a Super Bowl without Tom frickin' Brady. So let's stop with this with this stuff. Let's stop with it.
I'm with you on that. I think, did he have one of the best couches? I've never sat on his couch personally, but I imagine he did have a pretty comfy couch at some point. And we got Daniel trying to log in one more time. I see movement. And Daniel, can you hear us? Looks like we've got a connection, but it seems to be a poor connection. How you doing tonight, Daniel? And it looks like we've lost him once again.
Well, hang on.
We're gonna try. We'll hang on a little bit here. Daniel's having some bad weather there in Key West, which we were in Key West. Looks like he's smiling. He's having a little bit of fun on his end. And we're sorry for everyone listening. This has been a back and forth, but this is what happens with the live show. So we can hear you a little bit, which is nice. And for those just joining to the show or listening on the audio version, we are basically calling it audible here. And Daniel is joining us. This is Daniel Kelly, former NFL scout and the author of the book, Whatever It Takes, the true story of a fan making it to the NFL. And he's a big fan of the Washington Redskins, so we really wanted to have him on tonight, or the Washington NFL team, to talk about that. And it looks like he froze once again. Yeah, I mean, it works, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. So we're getting blinking.
Hey, this is the first time I've been able to see him since you pulled him off. So progress is being made.
We're in 3 different spots here around the world, and I mean, we've got movement now. We can see Danny moving. He just looks like he's moving in slow motion. Looks like me running the 40-yard dash over there.
He's unmuted, or he's unmuted.
Yeah, let me try it again. I think his mic is muted on his end. So I don't know, man. We're trying here. It's still a little choppy. Danny, are you able to unmute your mic, possibly? See if we can hear you a little better. You were there for a second, and then your mic got muted. Yes, kids, this is a live show here, and things happen when you do live podcasts. And for those listening on the audio version, we're still trying to get our guest here to work, and it's been back and forth, internet connection going out. But hey, these things happen. All right, hey, Daniel is unmuted. Daniel, can you hear us? Yeah, it's still choppy. I will remove him from the stream for a second. Yeah, it looks like it's not going to work out. The internet connection on his end apparently going in and out. So things happen. And I will leave him here in the queue just to see if we get some actual movement here rather than the slow motion choppiness. But hey, that's what happens when you're doing a live show and you're counting on the internet to work. Probably got a bad storm going on in Key West, but hey, the man's in Key West, Florida. And for those of you listening, like I said, that's Daniel Kelly, former NFL scout, author of Whatever It Takes, the true story of a fan making it in the NFL. Check out his book, Google the man, because for anyone who's ever had a dream, anyone who's ever wanted to be something and thought,
it is pretty incredible.
I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if I can do it. I mean, whatever your dream is, anything is possible. Believe it. And whatever the adversity you're facing, there is hope. And this man proved it because he was working a regular job, working at Bank of America, and he decided to work his ass off every night when he got home, and he printed up a 350-page NFL draft guide and printed up 3 copies and sent them to each NFL team. I want to say this was 95, 96. So to do that, think about that. You had to, head to Kinko's or whatever the store was back then. Maybe go to your local library and pay whatever it was, 5 cents per copy. I don't know. I was like 10 at the time. But this man worked his ass off to make his dream happen. He did that. And he got into the NFL. And not only did he get in the NFL, he was a scout for the New York Jets, where he learned under guys like Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, Scott Pioli, Eric Mangini. I mean, that just shows.
It truly is an incredible story. It really is. I was really hoping we got him. Hopefully we can get him again, because from the point with being an interim for being an intern for Tony Dungy. Mm-hmm. And then for him to step back after that and go into, the mortgagee loan servicing department, and then just to say, what the hell am I doing here? And to put the time in to make that draft basically board and send it to every team, like you said, in the 90s, where this wasn't exactly like just type something up and email it over. Just the fact in the fact that he got to be in an organization with legends that have coached this game is certainly fantastic. And again, I'm really excited to hopefully talk to him and go with this, but he's got a lot to say, I'm sure, and I'm looking forward to it at some point. Hey, again, technical difficulties happen, but to think, you're right though, to think that the guy basically just did everything he could in order to get the opportunity, and then at 21 years old, he had the opportunity to be an intern under Tony Dungy. That's pretty incredible. Tony Dungy is one of the best in the business.
Yeah, I mean, the guys he got to learn under, just incredible. I can't imagine how much he learned under those guys, or learned about the game and just about life. I mean, Tony Dungy's not a guy you just learn football from. He's a guy you can learn life from. And hopefully here, it looks like 2 weeks from now, because we're off next week. We got our bye week next week. We are on a bye, and then we come back and we will begin. He's got a storm. He just told me they're having a bad storm down there. So when he's on Wi-Fi with a bad storm, we get it. It happens. Things happen. So he will definitely be back on the show. Check out his book, Whatever It Takes. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, wherever you go. And with that being said, let's get back to our AFC West preview here and try to bring the show back on course. We've been all over the place, but this is fun as always. And yeah, it was annoying for a little bit, but hey, whatever. So let's go. And
Kim Carlo swinging in with the Dungeons of Class Act. That is 100% factual.
It absolutely is.
He's a Christian man, and he's done a lot of good for a lot of young people, including Michael Vick, who has gone through lots of things. And, definitely a good guy. Probably, I mean, would you say one of the catalysts for African-American coaching in general?
I mean, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what he's been able to do, not only in his football career with Indianapolis and with other organizations as well before, his opportunity there. And then what he's done off the field as a person, as a father, things like that, have been incredible. And he's one of the good ones. No doubt about it.
100% sure. And Daniel's still apologizing. He seems to be a good dude. Said he had trouble with StreamYard when someone in Washington had him. So StreamYard, we're letting you support our show so we can post it everywhere else, but maybe when we have him back,
get your shit
we'll have to go to Facebook Live, or maybe we'll use our YouTube Live because our YouTube channel has been fun. But with that being said, I'm with you. Tony Dungy, great at class act. I mean, Mike Tomlin, Tony Dungy disciple. I want to believe Lovie Smith was also a Tony Dungy disciple. So, I mean, you're thinking of African-American head coaches. I mean, the guy's tree has spit out Super Bowl winning African-American head coaches. So, guy's definitely a good dude. Plus, I think he's really good on TV, too. I enjoy him on Sunday Night Football. I think him and Rodney Harrison are actually kind of fun together.
I couldn't agree more.
With that being said, let's get to the Raiders. And not the Oakland Raiders anymore. We go from the San Diego Chargers, which is hard for me to say.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
We don't even know where we are anymore. This is the Las Vegas Raiders playing in the big black space shuttle looking stadium there at the end of the strip in Vegas. Looks pretty badass. I'm definitely going to have to check it out one day because I need to get to Vegas sometime in the next year or so. But with that being said, 7-9 last year in, what is that, Chucky's second season back? With Mike Mayock. They drafted Clelin Ferrell.
Right, second.
Max Crosby. Yep. They had a pretty good draft, and we made fun of their draft last year. And these guys ended up being pretty good. So this year they come in, first-round pick, Damon Arnett, the cornerback out of Ohio State. You need to draft corners in this division because you got a guy named
Henry Ruggs.
They did get Henry Ruggs as well. But you need to get corners in this division because you got to face the $503 million man in Pat Mahomes. But for me, this team, they're 7-9. If they want to get better, if they want to improve, Marcus Mariota being the backup isn't the answer. It's all on Derek Carr. Can Derek Carr step forward, and are Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller for real? That's where I'm at with this team. If they're going to improve, all those players have to get better for them to be anything. Where are you at with the Vegas Raiders?
Yes and no what you said. So first of all, I think Damon Arnett, being a Buckeye fan, I think Damon Arnett was a super reach where they took him. I really do. I really feel like anybody that evaluates his talent anywhere on Jeff Okudah, CJ Henderson type level is over evaluating what he's done. He was struggled mightily early on. Yes, he got better, but you also have to think that you had, a top 3 pick talent, opposite of him. I think Damon Arnett was a little bit of a reach. I think Henry Ruggs was a total Oakland Raiders, Al Davis type pick.
Baby.
Yes. So we got a gunner. We got a gunner out of Bama. Listen, the pick might be great. Derek Carr, mediocre shit. Simple as that. Mm-hmm. I think the Raiders, although I think they've drafted well, Marcus Mariota is, if you could draw up the most mediocre quarterback in the NFL, you would draw up Marcus Mariota. Okay. And so that's where we're at. Now, Chucky's building something there. I really think he's drafted well. I do. Like you said, with the Clelin Ferrell pick last year, everybody was like, what the hell is he doing? Mm-hmm. But clearly him and Mayock are building something there. AB disasters behind them. They're in a new city. With all that being said, I think it's an 8-8 team.
Yeah, and their over-under is 7.5, so you're actually going to be –
I'll take the over.
Over with the Raiders. And for me, I liked Damon Arnett. I thought he was possibly a fringe first-round pick. I didn't think 19 is where he'd go. But he has talent. And I think if you coach him properly, he can be a really good cornerback in the league. Is he Jeff Okudah? No. Is he going to be –
let me ask you this, not to cut you off, but compare him to CJ Henderson out of Florida.
I think Arnett is faster and possibly more athletic. I think his hips are more stiff, and that's where he's had issues. He hasn't been able to do the hip swivel, where CJ Henderson, he's got fluid hips, and he was able to turn and run with guys. So, yeah, absolutely in a division where he's got to face Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. This is a tough division to be a corner in. You got a lot of good quarterbacks outside of
Drew Lock, potentially.
The Chargers.
Tyrod Taylor. We don't know if Drew Lock's good, do we?
I think Drew Lock is going to be okay, at least. But I think he's on par to be at least as good as Derek Carr this year.
Well, Jesus, he better be.
That's just the second year, second round. Yeah, he's definitely got a lot of weapons, and we'll talk that team coming up here in a bit. But for the Raiders, I like the addition of Corey Littleton, but that's secondary. It's all dependent on what they get out of that secondary. I mean, they replaced Carl Joseph, who they lost to the Browns, with Demarius Randall, who the Browns lost. So basically an even trade of guys. Demarius Randall can be a really good free safety when he wants to be. Well, but it didn't seem he was in the game last year. So if he gets his head back in the game, he's really talented.
Demarius Randall, in my opinion, can be a productive safety with corner help, elite corner help. I'm not sure how productive he is with the corners on that team currently, because think of the roster turnover at the corner position of that football team. That's. I mean, I know we're getting a little off base here, but
no, and I'm with you on that. He can be good, but he's gonna struggle. That whole secondary, it's a question mark to me. We'll see exactly what they are. But for me, it's what are you getting out of Derek Carr? Can he be a game manager? Can he step up when the game is on the line? Can he find some of these weapons? I think Darren Waller is going to be just as good as last year, maybe not touchdown-wise, but Darren Waller, I think, is a very good tight end. Perfect in this era of football. Josh Jacobs, I think he's only getting better. I think that kid's a stud, can take a pounding. Yep. He's the guy you can give the ball to if you can get a lead. And Marcus Mariota is that weird thing where if Derek Carr struggles, is Marcus Mariota
He's Derek Carr. He's Derek Carr.
I'm with you, but I'm going to throw the question out.
Finkel's Einhorn.
Better. Yeah, I'm not even.
They're the same damn ass quarterback.
Listen to me, Drew. Mariota's left-handed. Derek Carr's right-handed. They're totally different.
I mean, Mariota has a little bit more wheels, but Jesus, God, they're both the same mediocre ass player, in my opinion.
Who's their studded safety who loves to hit? That would be Carl Joseph, who's now a starter for your Cleveland Browns there, Chris. Unless they've got somebody that I'm forgetting. But I'm pretty sure that was Carl Joseph, who came out of West Virginia, who I loved when they took him 14th overall in the draft, and I wanted the Browns to take, and then he ended up being here anyway. Sang it, baby. Sang it. So anyway, let's move on to the Denver Broncos. And
fascinating team.
They are a fun team because, let's say, John Elway has put some weapons around his quarterback. And when you look at this team, they're in a 4-year postseason drought, and you usually think Broncos are always in the playoffs. But they've been, in the past 4 years, 7 QBs, 5 offensive coordinators, 3 head coaches, and now you bring in Pat Shurmur to be your offensive coordinator to teach Drew Lock how to move the football and hopefully not be a dink and dunk guy, because he's got Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Melvin Gordon, who they brought in this offseason. They've got Cortland Sutton, who's a stud. I think he's probably going to be a number 1. Noah Fant, Philip Lindsay. There are weapons all
Royce
around.
Freeman?
You got Royce Freeman just sitting there deep on the depth chart.
Yeah, third on
the offensive line is okay, but they definitely have got weapons on offense if Drew Lock can get to him. And when you look at the defense, they added Jarrell Casey for a 7th-round pick. That guy's a stud. Justin Simmons signed his franchise tag. He's a stud. AJ Bouye, can he bounce back? Booyah, from his kind of off year in Jacksonville, but it seems everyone had an off year in Jacksonville last year.
Correct.
I mean, you did lose Chris Harris. Your secondary, he's old, but I think he fits perfectly where he's at right now in the Chargers.
I mean, this isn't the Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, Denver Broncos defense anymore.
No, it's not. But they still have Von Miller, who, if Von Miller's coming down your throat, you're in trouble. We all know that from who was that said it? I forgot her name already.
Josina Anderson, right?
Yeah, Josina Anderson. But then you get Bradley Chubb back, and I think that's going to be interesting because, like we talked earlier, this guy's coming off an injury, missed the entire year. Is he going to go out there day one and be sure that his body is the same as it was when he went out? Or is he going to take a few weeks?
Well, the answer is no. I mean, isn't it though? I mean, with no preseason, isn't it with no preseason? I mean, like these guys need to get hit and not by the same team. Like like people, you need to get hit. Like here's the deal with the Denver Broncos. I love what they're doing. Again, they went with offense.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Jeudy, you went KJ Hamler. Those are two completely different wide receivers. I think that actually complement what Cortland Sutton does on the outside very well. They have the weapons in place. However, is Drew Lock as good? I mean, what is Drew Lock? We just don't know right now. And I'm not going to put down Drew Lock because Drew Lock showed signs of being great.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to flip the field, not even flip the field, look at the backfield. You have Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, and potentially Royce Freeman. I mean, so you're going to have the ability to run the ball, which gives you the ability to run a lot of play action, which helps a young quarterback. We know that. You look at the ability defensively for them to have, bookend rushers with Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, and the things that they can do. Yes, they got a lot of speed defensively. There's no reason to not buy in unless you're not 100% sold on Drew Lock.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm not. I peg him at 9-7. That's just where I'm at with it. I think maybe we look at next year and they move on, they progress. But for now, I'm going to go with 9-7.
And that would
7 and on
over. Their over-under is 8. And I'm with you. I think they're 9-7 team, 8-8. That 8 makes it tough. It's a push, but I'm going to go with the over on them as well. And I think they're a 9-7 team. I think this is a team that in the mold of Vic Fangio, they're going to play defense. They're going to run the football. And then it's going to be up to Drew Lock to just not screw it up. And I think that's a perfect way to bring a quarterback along in his second year. They're building just like the Cleveland Browns did last year, where they had their quarterback in the second year and they've surrounded him with weapons, except the Browns decided to go insane and make your quarterback throw a million times when you had the chance to run and play defense. I think this team is going to do it correct. And I think they're going to be a good team. They're in a tough division. I think all these teams are really talented, but I definitely see them at 8-8, 9-7, but I'm going to go with the 9-7. I'm not going to be puss and take the push. I'm going to go with the over. And now we move on to the king of the division, the defending world champions of the Super Bowl, which seems like it was 3 years ago at this point when it was only 6 months ago. The 12-4 Kansas City Chiefs, led by the $500 million man, Pat Mahomes. Are they going to repeat? How good is this team going to be? Their over-under is 11.5.
Yeah, I'm thinking I have them somewhere around 2-14 to 3-13. Is kind of what I'm thinking. No, I mean, listen, they're bringing back. I mean, they pay Mahomes $1 million. They pay her $1 gajillion. They pay Jones $1 gajillion.
Yep.
You draft Clyde, Edwards-Helaire out of LSU. I think that helps your running game. Which, if we're being honest, it was kind of running back by committee. LaShawn McCoy would play some games. He wouldn't play. Damian Williams would play. I mean, so I think that helps to plug him into the backfield as far as that's concerned. I mean, come on. Who are we kidding ourselves? This team's another. They won 12-4 last year. I had them at 12-4 this year. I don't see any reason they're not a 12-4 team. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, if you can talk me into them not being better than 11-5 or 12-4, then I'd love to listen to it.
There's only one way this team's not at least 12-4, and that's if the situation we talked about earlier comes up where they lose Pat Mahomes due to COVID-19.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's it. This team, they're bringing most of their players back. You got Tyrann Mathieu coming back. You got Frank Clark, who's hopefully going to be healthy this year for them. Great player, awesome dude.
Scumbag.
Yep. And then you've got the Cheetah, who's fast, and we'll talk a little bit about him. We're going to go over the 60-minute mark, by the way. Another scumbag, but a hell of a player. Sammy Watkins agreed to a different contract. He's coming back. You're going to look at Mecole Hardman, who I think is going to get better this year. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and the Brian Westbrook, Andy.
Mecole Hardman's fast as shit.
He is insanely fast. I mean, Mecole Hardman is a stud in the making, I think, in this offense. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the Brian Westbrook for Andy Reid. I think that kid's just going to be a star this year because he's just going to be overlooked. Damian Williams coming back. I mean, Chris Jones getting the money. Well, let's answer this question. Chris asked, do y'all think Jones is worth that money? Absolutely.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
he's the best interior defender in the league. I mean, he was hurt last year, still played 13 games, pushed the pocket, 9 sacks, I want to say, from the interior off the top of my head. But when he was
destroyed.
out, go ahead.
He destroyed. I mean, in the playoffs, he was fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, when he's on the field, they're a different team. And we thought last year that they should have added, the corner that got traded from the Jaguars. Who was it? Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey.
They're all kinds off. We definitely need that bye week next week. But
yep.
Jalen Ramsey, we thought they should have added him. We thought they'd need him to win a Super Bowl. We were wrong. I still think that would have made them better, but they wouldn't have been able to give him the money because I think they put the money in the right spot and giving it to Chris Jones. That guy basically, he's going to hold down the middle of your defense, and he's going to shut down. If he was just a run stopper, not worth the money. But he can get to your quarterback. He can push the pocket. He can do so many different things. He really sets the tone for that defense. But, yeah, for me, there's no reason to think this team isn't 12-4 unless COVID does happen to Pat Mahomes. And outside of that,
we're not
there's
rooting
nothing
for that.
to stop them. No, absolutely. Yep. And I think this team is definitely the favorite to go back to the Super Bowl. Will they win it? I don't know.
We'll see.
So that is our AFC West preview. And now since we're talking the Cheetah, did you see that Marcus Goodwin wants to race him? Now, Marcus Goodwin
is an Olympian.
An Olympian.
He's an Olympian.
Mm-hmm. And maybe on the football field, doesn't seem that much faster than Tyreek Hill. But the form that Tyreek Hill uses to run, where he actually almost got – I mean, that was a pretty close race if y'all saw it between him and Terrell Owens. T.O.'s 46 years old and ran a 4.42. I mean, the Cheetah's fast, don't get me wrong, but Marcus Goodwin's a different kind of fast. And when you get on the track, totally different things happen.
Agree with you, man.
With that is our AFC preview. We have gone through, and to recap that, we both took the under on the Chargers. I took the under on the Raiders. You took the over, and we both took the over on the Broncos and the Chiefs. And we are off for the next week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully, we'll have Daniel Kelly. And for all those of you who watched, sorry for the technical issues.
Yeah.
We do a live show. Things happen. For those of you listening to the re-air or watching this on demand on YouTube or on Facebook, fb.me/FCFSpod, or like I said, listening on Spotify, Anchor, anywhere you listen to your pods, we apologize for that because that's got to be awful to watch or listen to over again. At least live, you understood what was going on. And I'm not going to go back and edit it up because it's part of our show, and that's what happens when you do a live show. And, brother, I hope you have a great vacation.
Thank you.
Before you get to that vacation, anything else you want to talk about tonight?
I think we covered it, man. I think we're in good shape.
I think we did as well. And for those of you who I said, hit us up on Twitter at FCFSPod, at DetroitDave7, at Somerville CLE. If you want to join the show, you want to be part of our roundtable on Hall of Fame or not, make sure you're coming with a real argument. We'll make sure we come with a better one. And
roundtable.
We'll do something. We'll make it fun because
I like it.
We got no preseason games, and I'm sick of talking about the Redskins or the Washington football team established 1932. I mean, whatever. We'll see. But 2 weeks from now, we will be back, and hopefully we'll get Daniel Kelly on. He said he has had issues with StreamYard. Check out his book, Whatever It Takes. Check him out on Twitter at Daniel Kelly Book. With that being said, as always, remember, if you live the life you love, you'll love the life you live. Night, kids.